This video will give an introduction to some data cleaning techniques for EpiGraM, for those who are able to do it, and for those who can't make the edits as shown here because the user privileges don't allow it. It will still show how you can identify missing information, for example. So I'm particularly going to be using the table views, which, for example, is the standard view for chart of accounts. But I'm going to be looking into these data tables here, starting with the internal review form. Now, what this does is this layout actually has most of the fields that are in the table for internal review forms, and I've done some formatting to make certain things pop out. For example, all records should have a study ID, and if they do not, and an IRF ID, if they do not, those are highlighted red. That means in effect that these are missing, are lost records that won't show up anywhere. Other information that is normally used, that's normally expected to be present, if it's missing, there is a yellow highlighting for that. Now, this can be a little misleading because, for example, this is all 600 internal review forms, and these ones are older since we're starting at the beginning here, and that means they were entered before they're imported records, and so we don't have information on the proposed start dates and end dates. There's all sorts of things there. They predate the use of EpiGraM. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see that the fields like that are much more likely to be filled in as we move towards more recent records. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to end up looking in this one and figuring out which study it belongs to and entering the appropriate study ID. Hopefully there will not be very many of those. Again, because this is these are old internal review forms, or actually they weren't really, they were more created as placeholders for the original ones. I'm not going to try and fill in the proposal types and things like that. So if there's something, as with other table views, if there's something that you want to add on, you can click in the modify table view and add something from here. One thing I did not show in the introduction to using tables video is that in addition to all of the internal review form fields, you can choose information. I would only choose from related tables, not unrelated tables. So if you needed something, for example, the studies, well, actually, let's go with the project short name, the accountant's nickname. You could go into the project and look for the short title if you wanted to add that. So I'm going to move on to the PRF table here, and it's much the same situation as the other tables as far as fields are concerned. I will do some searching through, and for example, this one is apparently a subaward. Yep, subaward, and we've got the prime or the sponsor ID, but not a prime sponsor, so that's missing. And then, of course, especially with the older ones, whether they're a sub or have a subaward, or, well, there are various things that could be missing here, and are more likely to be filled in later records, like the start and end dates. I'm going to do a quick scan to see if any of the critical information is missing, which would be indicated by a red field. It would be over in the study ID and PRF numbers. If you scan really fast, some of those lines appear to be blank, but they actually are not. It just takes a second for the screen to catch up. So I'm not, oh, there is one. So this again is red because the PRF 907137 does not match any of our study IDs, and therefore it will not show up in any records. So I'm going to need to figure out, based upon the title. Okay, that should be pretty easy. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that just to illustrate this. So I've clicked on to the one that's missing, and then I'm going to go to the, well, I'm going to click go to study, but it won't actually take me anywhere because there is no study for it to go to. So this, I'm going to look for National Research Mentoring, and only one record is found, so this one should be 120. I'm going to check Boston College, the PI, so it's a subcontract. Then I'm going to go back to the data table and fill that in with 120. I should jump back and show you where I got that in case you didn't notice. There's a 120 up here, and that is a unique identifier for the study. So unfortunately it's really not easy to highlight the entire row, but this dark gray here does indicate where you are. So I'm just going to scan through here. Yeah, so it's actually University of Utah and Boston College, so it looks like that may be incorrectly identified. I'll have to look more into that. This one is a subaward. And again, only some people will be able to directly enter data in these tables. If you are not, what you can do is often go to the study layout and then enter information from there. I'm not sure that I'll be able to get, well, we'll have to check and see if there is a PRF in there, PDF of the PRF, and then I can get some more of this information. I'm going to finish scanning down to see if any other ones are missing their study, and it looks like that was the only one. Now, okay, I'm going to made a quick change to how this looks, so it's more similar to the other data tables, although the font is awfully large. I'll have to change that later. Now, I want to go back to that study and check something. Again, just kind of finish up with that data cleaning. I'm not entirely clear. Okay, so it looks like NIH should be the prime. And then University of Utah would. So I'm going to go ahead and put NIH as the prime, and the mechanism for this is going to be a sub. Then I'll go back to the study table, and I'm going to show all of the records as opposed to just that one. And this would be much the same situation of looking for yellow fields and seeing what needs to be filled in. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of this since I have some sort of quick ways to fill them in that are not available to everyone. So normally you wouldn't expect to see so many yellow fields. I'm going to do another scan down to see if any study IDs or cons are missing. Okay, so we've got from 238, there is an award. That's interesting. it is possible to open up multiple windows in FileMaker, so I'm going to do that now to make things a little easier. This is very useful when you're doing data cleaning. So I'm going to look for study 238. This time I'm going to start a find and go directly into the study number, perform that find, and see if this looks like it matches. Now I'm curious why there's no con, and that's sort of something that I'm not going to be able to figure out on my own. Oh, it looks like this may have been an accidentally created one. From quite a while ago. Okay, so that makes sense. This one was just an accident. That's why there is not much information about it. Go through, yep, all sorts of stuff is missing. So I will delete this record. Do one last check, comparing it to the one above it to see. So one has Alvaro as the PI, one has Aaron. Other than that, the information's all missing, so I feel comfortable deleting this because there's really nothing there anyhow. I'm going to guess the same thing happened for this one because it matches up with the one right underneath it. So in the old EpiGraM system, it would be fairly easy to, and in the new one, to accidentally create some new one by accident. Again, missing large amounts of information, and really the only difference between this and the one above it is who the PIs are, and that could have been caused by a change in PIs that the next one was accidentally created. Alright, and probably the same is true down here as well. Looks like it's about the same as the one above it, and it doesn't have any useful information in it, so I will delete that as well. Now I'm going to show you a trick to creating a lot of, or to fixing a lot of records at the same time, if you are able to, if you have the access privileges to do that. So I've noticed there are a lot of missing mechanisms where it appears to be a subaward. So what I'm going to do is do a find for subawards. And next I'm going to do a find on anything in mechanism, and I'm going to get rid of that. So what I want to do here when I constrain this is I will show all the ones that do not have a mechanism amongst the ones that are subawards. So under requests I will constrain the found set. So now I've got 106 that have a check mark for being a subaward but nothing in the mechanism. So what I will do is type in sub, that's the way that's recorded in the mechanism field, and then under records I'm going to replace field contents. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to do a quick check on something. What I'm doing is checking to make sure that these all make sense. They would expect to see NIH or something in the sponsor ward and would not expect to see NIH being in the sponsor ID. Normally it's another university. That one I'm a little suspicious of. So I'm going to omit that. It could be the case, but I'm just not convinced. Most of these other ones do look like they would be reasonable institutions to give a subaward. So, again, what I'll do is put sub in here, and then under records, I'm going to replace field contents. And this is something you want to read very carefully. Permanently replace the contents of the field mechanism in the 105 records of the current found set with sub. And that is what I want to do. There are 105. Sometimes you'll do that and you'll see this number is much larger than the number you want to actually replace, and then you want to change that and only find the ones that meet the criteria you're looking for. So when I check replace here, it's going to paste the word sub into 105 of these. Oops. So there are a bunch of them that should have a prime that apparently do not. I'm going to get rid of the ones that do have their prime sponsor already identified. And then I'm going to show you a slightly more advanced way of doing this. All right, hold on just a second. I need to fix. Okay, and one thing, I should have mentioned this when I did that previous replace field contents. Make sure that you are in the correct field, because some of these, in some cases, it will automatically tab forward, and so you need to actually be clicked in there to do the replace nav field. And if it's after you've entered it, you've jumped into the next one, for example, or tabbed forwards, then it'll try to replace that next field, not what you want to do. So that's why you read that carefully. In the prime sponsor, I'll just pick anything, and I am going to replace field contents. So replace prime sponsor in these 91 with an IMH. No, that's not what I want to do. It is these 91 prime sponsors, but I'm going to replace with a calculated result. In this case, I don't have the information in this table. What I'm going to do is guess that a lot of them have it in the award table. So I'm going to choose that as the replacement field. Alright, so now I'm going to permanently replace prime sponsor in these 91 records with that calculated result. And we'll see how that looks. Okay, so a lot of them did have it under the award, and now I have moved it over so it is in the study table as well. Unfortunately, not all of them, so I still have a bunch more investigation to do. But that's how you can use the records, the replace field contents button, to make bulk changes relatively instantaneously. And again, be careful reading what change you're going to make when you use that.